Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Yasser Ahmed. So in this video, we will continue looking at advanced spreadsheet functions. And if you check out the previous videos, we've been looking at using if error. So if error, so if we go to here, what it did was if an error was found in a calculation in a value, then we could output something specific. So we could return a blank cell if we just had two speech marks, or we could write something between the speech marks. So if there was an error message, we could output something specific. So what we're going to be doing next is using is error. And what is error is going to do is output either a true or a false if there is an error. Okay, so you'll see 2 plus 2 and A and 3 and B. If we add these two numbers together, we'll produce an error. So if I was to just check if this is working, you can see it's an error message. So what we're going to do is we're going to use equals is error. We can read a description. Checks whether a value is an error, and if it's true, returns true, and if it's not false, if there's no error, it's going to return false. So is error, this cell plus this cell, and this should show me true because there's an error. If I drag this now down, let me change these colors back to what they were. So you can see we have true where we have an error. So even this one here, 3 plus b, returns a true. Where the numbers are added, can be added, is false. So we can use these trues and false within an if statement. So let's come to here, add the two numbers together. So we're going to add the two numbers together using if and is error. So let's start. So equals if. Remember the if statement has a true and a false, which will come from this part of the formula. So logical test, what are we checking to see? We're checking to see if there's an error. So we can use is error, this plus this cell, close the bracket. So this should produce an error message. It's basically the same values. Let me just go back a little bit. Yeah, so it's 2a, so it should produce an error message. So let me do that again. So equals if is error, this cell plus this cell. I'll just do it up here. Close the bracket. So if that's true, we have an error message. Let's just return a blank cell. Okay, and if it's not true, so this is where it's different from the if error. We can do the actual calculation. Close the bracket. Done. So we can't do a calculation because there was an error. So we returned just an empty cell. But this is false because there is no error. So if I drag it down, you should get the calculation. So it's a little bit different from the if error because now we can do something at this point if there's no mistakes. Okay, let's keep going. Output the grade. So let's find out if there is an error first of all. So equals is error, and the value is going to be just a VLOOKUP. So we're looking up this percentage in this table array here. Let's lock it, comma, to, and then approximate match. And this should be false. Whoops, let me just close all the brackets. This is false because there's no error here. So 96 should produce an A star. Abdullah's grade, or NA, should produce an error message, and that should show me true. So now what we can do, guys, is we can put this into an if statement. So if I type in here equals if, this is a logical test which will output either true or false. If I type in here comma, if it's true, there is a mistake. So in Abdullah's case, it's true. Let's just return an empty cell, so two speech marks. And if it's not true, it's false, there is no mistake. Like in the other three examples, then what we can do is just copy this formula and paste it here. close the bracket. So what's going to happen is this is a if statement. There's a logical test which will return either a true or a false. If there's a mistake, then the true part of the if statement will be output. If there's no mistake, then the false part of the if statement will be outputted, which is a VLOOKUP. Let's press enter, and you can see now we have the grades. For Abdullah, we should have a blank cell, and then for Yusuf and John, we have some grades. Right here, we're going to work out the average time late, okay, by house. So if you're a part of the greenhouse, Billy Jones was part of the greenhouse. He was 2 minutes late on one occasion. Sarah Jackson was part of the red house. She was 3 minutes late. So let's work out the average by house, how much time they were late in minutes. So usually this would be an average if. Okay, so you got the range. The range is where are you looking for? So what the criteria is going to be in this column. The range is where you can find the criteria. So let's highlight. Whoops, let me just try and do that again. These cells. Let's lock it. Comma. Let's click on this cell. Obviously, this is going to produce the mistake because there is no criteria. And the average range is going to be this. So that's the error message that we're looking to basically avoid. For the others, it's working. Yellow, we do have a criteria, but there is no yellow house here. So let's try typing in now is error. Okay, this is a value. So let's see if there is mistakes or no mistakes. So where it's true, it's going to show a mistake. And where it's false, there is no mistake. So now then we've run that, we can do an if statement again. And if the is error produces a true statement, then we can just return an empty cell by adding two speech marks, comma. And if there was no mistake, we can just do the average if. So let me copy this information into here and close the bracket and drag this down. And we will only get the average if there's no mistake. And you can also do things like this. We can round it if you wanted to round to how many digits. Let's say 2. Close the bracket. Oh, actually, no. I'm not. I'm going to take this out because you can't round an empty cell. I'm just going to put a round on a false part of the statement, okay? Because this is where we are working out the average if. So round. So I'm just looking at the brackets. So after the purple bracket, let's just put here. Because actually after this bracket here, 2 places. Let's close a black bracket and see if this works. There we go. So it's rounded to 2 places instead. Right, guys. So we've come to the end of is error. So the is error checks to see if a calculation would produce a mistake. And if it does, it will output true. If there's no mistake, then it will output false. We can then put this inside of an if statement. And within the if statement, you have a logical test. Okay. And then you have the true statement, which is going to be this one here. So if there's a mistake, let's just return an empty cell. And if not, let's do the calculation. Okay. Right, guys, thank you for your time. Please drop your comments below. I hope these videos have been useful. And please also share the channel as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.